Hey everybody, it's Kenny K here again with another review. This time from the 80s, going back to the 80s, 1981 specifically. Eyes of a Stranger. This one gets a 6 on IMDb. It gets a 5.5 from me because the only reason it gets half point less is I wanted some more gory kills, and there are a few gory kills in this. This is a TV movie. So it's actually a surprise that there's even a drop of blood in there. TV movies usually don't have gore. Directed by Ken Weatherton. Then we've got Lauren Tews, who plays Jane Harris. She's her main. She and her sister, um, Tracy Harris, are our main female leads. Jane is a TV reporter and is adamant to take down this murderer who's killing uh, people. He's killing women, raping them, and killing them at the same time. And he's been doing that for a long time now, so he's a menace. Now, Tara is played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, one of her earlier roles, and she's basically a mute, blind girl. Now, the thing is, the reason why she's like that is because of a trauma she had when she was little. She was basically attacked by a pedophile and raped. So that's also the reason why Jane is so adamant of trying to take him down through news report, call everybody, see, try to catch this sleazebag. She's going out of control on TV report. Really to capture this guy. Now the killer is John, played by John DeSanti. This isn't a whodunit. It's a pretty obvious who's the killer. His name in the movie is Stanley Herbert. Now he lives. So you've got these two high-rise blocks in Miami, and he lives in the other block. And this is how Jane starts to notice that Mr. Herbert may well be the serial killer everybody's looking for. Now, before we go to that, we've got this awesome scene in the first scene in the movie. And I actually thought this will be our main characters because we're like 20 minutes in the movie, and this British woman is getting harassed, phone calls, but phone calls, if you remember Black Christmas, that resembled a lot of that Black Christmas vibe when Billy, the killer, called to the Coets and said, I'm gonna fuck you, I'm gonna fuck you, yeah, I'm gonna fuck you. Oh yeah, you're not wearing a bra, I'm gonna stick my dick in you. And then eventually, multiple calls after the last call, he says, "I'm gonna kill you." At that tone, it's pretty creepy. So there's this tension being set in this apartment that the killer may or not be in the apartment already. It seems like he's already in there. Now, somebody knocks on the door and it's her boyfriend. Now, she has this cleaver. She's, thinking he's somewhere in there. She called the police, but nobody believes her. I mean, nobody takes her serious because they had the 7th or 10th call about obscene, calls. But what a fucking disgrace of a police force. I mean, if she's saying somebody's threatening to kill me on a phone and there's this killer running loose, threatening to rape and kill me, then I think you should at least send a patrol by, don't you think? But okay, a lousy police force in Miami. uh, Shame on the Miami PD. Um, so she knocking on doors. She says, "Who is that?" And she says, "It's me, Ted." And Ted or something. I think his name was Ted. I'm not sure. Is her boyfriend. She opens the door and he goes through, blasts through the open door with this creepy mask. And the entire tension that has been set was actually, and it got to me. It shook me. I gotta admit that he just came with that mask straight to her face, and I mean, he almost cleaved them. I mean, what the fuck was he doing? Eventually, she says, "Can I? I'm very uptight. Can I sleep at your place?" "Yeah, no problem." He's gonna sit on the couch to wait when she's ready. Then we see the killer, who was in the apartment all this time, picks up the cleaver that she used. You see him hacking off the head of the boyfriend. And then when she goes into the living room, she sees the dead body and the head in the fish aquarium. And then she, of course, gets attacked by this fairly large guy, and her clothes being ripped off, and raped violently and strangled. Uh, he his MO is basically raping and strangulation. So Jane goes to her apartment complex and she sees that this Mr. Herbert just arrived and he's changing his clothes. He's doing this weird thing that he's changing everything and he's dumping clothes in the garbage, and he seems, agitated. She learns that apparently he arrived a few hours before the two kills in that apartment complex. So she starts to, okay, her reporters, investigative skills, right? But she's not 100% convinced yet. Also, her boyfriend is a criminal lawyer, and she says, just don't interfere because I think you have the wrong guy. Now, the boyfriend is nice and all, but when she gets more into, Herbert being the killer, he doesn't believe her. He calls her crazy, and he's not really, you know, yeah. So she lives with her, like I said, with her sister Tracy, who's Janet Leigh. I have to say she did a great job doing these, you know, what's it called, miming. I want to say miming, but hand gestures to know what she wants. Up, up, it's like coffee, up, like this or something. Hand gesture. But the weird thing is that she can sort of sense her sister's hand gestures. Now, I think I have a theory that she can see her sister and only her sister. Yeah. Now, what happens then is that at some point a other female gets these weird calls again, same deal, and she gets pushed in a car, raped and killed in the car, and then drove into a beach just to dump the body on an isolated beach. But there was an other car there, also a couple having sex, but the car can't get out of the sand. He basically got stuck in the sand. The killer can't get out. So this guy is saying, I'm gonna give him a push because he's distracting me. You know, the guy who's having sex with his girlfriend. He goes to the car, lights of the car goes out. You see that the killer takes this, this clip knife, and he stabs him like really fiercely in the neck, like multiple times. The guy stumbles towards his girlfriend. She sees him, she panics, and then through the other window, he takes her hair and slices her throat fairly mean-spirited open. So, like I said, for a TV movie, it had a lot of gruesome kills. Um, but I wished there were a little bit more of those, and that's why I'm giving it a 5.5. Um, and then, of course, we see basically that it's Mr. Herbert. You see his face. It's not really a spoiler. It's not a whodunit really. You see immediately who the killer is. Then, of course, Jane reported those killings, and then she sees his car full of sand, and she connects the dots. So she goes to the concierge office of to the concierge of the building, and ask for something to sort of get him out of the room, take the keys from Stanley Herbert, and goes to his apartment to snoop around. Now, this is fairly dangerous what she's doing. She doesn't know when he's coming back. She's going there on a hunch that he's not home. Okay. And she finds dirty shoes with sand. She takes one with her, but then he comes home, of course. And what she does is she tries to flee through the balcony. Now, you have to understand his apartment is like this complex, has 30 floors. She's like at the 10th, maybe even higher floor, and she's hanging with her hands, you can from the balcony. So basically, if she falls, she as dead as it can be. But and it's like flat. So you've got concrete, then you've got the neighbors below, and somehow when she falls at the balcony of the neighbors. Now that's fairly lucky. Now, what happens is she gives a shoe to her lawyer boyfriend, but she says you stole it. That makes it, admissible at court because you stole evidence. If you steal evidence, it's not worth shit. But she just wants to know if it's him. She wants to know if he knows a guy that can trace the sand to the place where the bodies were found on the beach. So eventually he takes the shoe, but they have this argument and she drives away. Now what she's starting to do is she is now convinced that he's the killer, so she starts to call him and taunt him and say, I know what you've been doing, you filthy rapist, you phone freak, filthy rapist. And he's like, I think you got the wrong person. Then hangs up. Then again, calls again. No, you got the wrong person, okay? Sorry. Calls again. He's saying, leave me a fucking alone, leave me a fuck alone. And he starts to go like this, and he knows he's probably being caught. Now, instead of laying low, he goes to, he wants to celebrate by raping another woman and killing her. He goes to this, he's following this woman that's a stripper, and he's at the strip bar looking at her and following her. And then you've got this rather creepy scene. She's in the shower, but then she sees this guy with his head against the glass plate. So, and then you hear from distance that he's coming through and, you know, raping and killing her. So that was a cool scene when he's standing just against that plate, you know, his face pressed to the glass out of nowhere. Um, Eventually, what happens is he's watching the news, and Jane Harris says, "We've got to stop this phone freak, sadistic killer." And he was reminded for the fact that Jane Harris, when she called him out of her apartment, said multiple times, "A phone freak, you fucking phone freak." So now he knows that it's probably her who's been doing the callings. Now, now he knows where to go, and you can imagine what he's gonna do. Going to Jane and Tracy Harris, their apartment. Now, this I'm not gonna spoil. There is this awesome fight between, I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh. She actually gives, although she's blind, uh, she gives him a good whooping or two, and yeah, I'm not gonna say what happens, who get, gets killed, who, you know, saves who. It's so because the boyfriend David, I think David was his name, the lawyer from Jane, called Jane, "Stop harassing this guy. It's him. It's him. The sand matches the sand of the beach where he was. Stop. I'm gonna inform the cops. Just stop following him." But of course she's not home, so it's in an answering machine. Now, so I'm not gonna spoil the ending. It's a very cool ending. There's a moment when, that's the only thing I'm gonna spoil, that Jane goes for to get something out of her car or something. No, she goes back to the guy's apartment. She calls him, and he doesn't pick up. So she thinks she sees she can see him from the other side. It's dark, so she goes back to the guy's apartment. But then she sees that he's in her apartment with Tracy. And with, so Tracy, a blind girl and a deaf girl, and he's just standing there, and it's a pretty cool ending. It's a pretty cool ending. I recommend this movie. Um, for a TV movie, it's got a lot of gore. Maybe I just wished for some more gore, um, but the pros are good acting, creepy killer, you know. Although you know how it looks like, his methods are, you know, guys get mutilated. Most of them. One woman gets her throat slit too, and you feel the sleaziness coming from this guy. So you really, John DeSanti really gave a great job. Jane and especially Tracy, Jennifer Jason Leigh gives a great performance from, you know, during the movie and especially at the end. Um, You got some good tension. Like I said, the first scene, you think this British woman is gonna be the lead. It takes like 15 minutes or longer even at that scene, and they're really building up the tension if the guy's in the house or out the house with those creepy phone calls. And I really like that. Eventually, that is in the house and just decapitates her boyfriend. You can see the head being chopped off. It's it's a tense and grisly scene. So, are there cons? I think there are moments like that moment that she's hanging from his balcony, like 10th floor. If she falls, she's basically hamburger meat. I mean, she's hanging there and it's like straight down, and you've got concrete wall. So you've got the balcony, concrete wall, and then the next balcony. To fall on that next balcony, you really have to be lucky, and that was a little far fetched. I would think she hides, gets through the door without him noticing, you know. But she does the Superman route, the Spider-Man route, Spidey. That's the only con that I really have. Oh, and David, being her boyfriend, doesn't give her the benefit of the doubt. Uh, because he was, in the beginning, was like super nice, but then he becomes a little bit of a douchebag, and that's something I didn't like. But for the rest, like I said, the main three actors, Laurent Tuas, Jane Harris, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tracy Harris, and John DeSanti, Stanley Hooper, they play a really good job of being the heroes, the protagonists versus the antagonists. Really good job, really good job. So that being said, I recommend this with a thumbs up, 5.5. It gets a 6 on IMDb. Maybe you'll think it's a 6, but I'm thinking you're gonna like this one. So see you later. Subscribe. It's free. It does mean a lot for me, and see you later. Bye bye.